Welcome to sunny Cannes and to Yachting Monthly's test of the Jeanneau Sun Odyssey 41 DS. So we start as ever at the bow. This one's got a double bow roller. The furler here should keep, it's high enough up from the deck to keep the foot of the jib away from these. I think it'll skirt pretty easily. We saw that yesterday actually, and it does. You've also got a tack for the Jeanneau. In this case it's being used for the code 0, which is all this extra string. There's the endless line furler. But this is the tack line, so if you did want a Jeanneau, then that can just be reeved through the end of the bow roller there. There's the Jeanneau. So the recessed windlass, which works with the starboard bow roller. Very deep anchor locker, so all your chain, off-wind sails, fenders, all sorts of stuff can be put in there. There is more space aft, but it's there if you need it. It's very big. So moving aft, first problem is the tripwire here. It's on bigger boats, it's reeved below the deck, it's ducted below the deck. On smaller boats it goes right down the lifelines, but on this one it's kind of in the middle. They weren't quite sure what to do with it, so they know it's not perfect, but there we go. Nice pad-eye there for your halyards. Like the big teak footrail, keep you safe. Standard on this boat, on the 41 DS, is in-mast furling. This one, for reasons of performance, has been given slab reefing. These high-tech sails are standard with slab reefing. That's what comes with it. And the roller furling has Dacron. All the lines run aft. You can see here these recessed jib tracks here. Everything comes back. So it's either through here and under the decks back to the halyard winches, or through these under the decks back to the winches by the wheel. So you've got these inboard shrouds here, so it's very easy to get past. Clear side decks. The cleats are in line with the tow rails. Got a great grab rail here to get yourself aft. I'm wondering how you might fit a spray hood here, because that's quite an angle, so I think you'd struggle to get a spray hood on there. Obviously you can do. Maybe you could move the main sheet forward, but that's not going to help performance any. Anyway, so back you come, and there's a step here to help you get into the cockpit. Presumably the spray hood will have some sort of handle to make the whole business safer. So these are sunbrella fabric, so you can leave them out, and underneath they're all meshed there, so they'll dry very easily. They're meant to get wet and then dry again. So up here, on the standard version, there's just the one winch here because there's roller furling, so just one winch there, but they've got the extra one in because of the reef lines and so on and so forth. That presumably would be electric for most people for resale value and just to make life easy. You've got a halyard bin down here, keep all the tails in, and winch handle there as well. Bridge deck here, great moulded table with grab rails, and also grab rails here, so it's very safe moving aft. To this nicely protected helm position, which has got great seats here. It's very comfortable. You can lean out board, and all your instruments are here. The winches are there. Those may or may not be electric, but if not, then wind them. They're easy reach. We've got the chart plotter there, so you can keep track of everything. This is quite interesting. This is a first, I think, on this boat. They've gone for a PBO backstay, so the block is right at the top of the mast. It looks like a twin backstay. It's not. It's actually a split backstay. So the adjustment is here. This synthetic line goes up to the block at the top of the mast and back down to the other side. It just keeps it out of the way, so you're pretty much free of the backstay wherever you sit. So under here, obviously all the lines run aft. There's your sheet bin, just to keep things tidy. Got the shore power in there as well to keep, and the fuel filler. This one is the main cockpit locker, pretty much full depth. little box in there, so that's for fenders and lines and that sort of thing. There are 2 sole depth cockpit lockers here, but obviously you're not going to get a huge amount of them. There's your emergency tiller position over here. So most of the driving goes on. This one's fitted with a 360 docking system, and there's the independent thruster control there. So coming below, these great grab rails here, keep you safe, and also the captive washboard there. And here's the galley, which has been made to look not like a galley. That's the idea. It's the same thing that's happening with chart tables. So here, actually, are your twin sinks with what I suppose approximates to a splashback. There's your sink with your posh chef's tap. Huge cool box here. Goes down all the way. So if your arms aren't very long, you're much not going to reach the bottom. And there's a drain in there. So when you spill milk or something and you need to clear it up, that's the button. So you can stick whatever you want in there, press that button, there's the drain. Microwave here, you can see these sort of 2-tier styling. Some locker space, you've got a drawer here for spices and so on. Another locker there, a couple of drawers here, and your bin locker is there. So here's another one of those chart tables that doesn't quite know what it's for. It's big enough. If you want to sit down, you have to remove this seat here. So if you're doing nav work underway, then I'm not quite sure where this is going to go. It's held in place just by friction, and it works. It didn't fall out of place on the test, but if you were to sit down and do navigation underway, then I don't know what you do with that. Anyway, so it's got some stowage under there and under here. There's your switch panel. So there's your red and white light. Here, this isn't standard. This is a wine fridge to keep your Chablis cool. Usually it's just a locker, but a wine locker, so you just put in there. But if you want a dishwasher or something, then that's all doable. Got a TV here, which is also optional. That's pretty much the nav station. So under the sole, the stowage pretty much everywhere, under the galley, under here. It's all limbered, so you need waterproof crates pretty much to hold everything, because it will get wet otherwise. Here's an example, although this possibly not the best one. So you can see some keel bolts there. Decent amount of space. It's quite deep. But you've also got your bilge pump down there, so you wouldn't, like I say, you need the waterproof crates if you're going to, no cardboard boxes, because they will soak and break. Here's the saloon. So we've got stowage under all these, the calorifiers under here. This one, as I say, is like a chaise lounge, so it's about 5'7" long with the sort of trotter box seat here. This doesn't come out, that's fixed, so it's just 5'7", and it works with a telly if you're going to sit down. U-shaped seating here. This table flips around, and then you press this button here, and the whole thing lowers. There are 2 infill cushions in the forward cabin at the moment, and those will make you a very large double berth. So it's about 6 feet 10 long, about 4 feet wide. Very good emergency berth. So it's the 41DS, but I'm not sure it's a deck saloon exactly. I'd figure you kind of sit at the level so you can look out here rather than having to stand up. Anyway, fabulous windows, enormous windows. They're in masses of light. You've also got the opening hatch here for ventilation, and 2 other smaller ones here, plus the dorades for ventilation at sea. These seats obviously can't join the saloon table, but you do have this stool here which kind of shuffles over. So you can sit 6 or 7 around here pretty happily. And you've also got these great hull ports that I really enjoy. Them. Pretty good level, possibly a bit low, but really good level. And you've got these blinds here that give you the privacy when you need it. So here's the full cabin. This is the guest cabin on this boat, but still very palatial. one of the deepest hanging lockers. That's an inch shy of 5 feet there, full depth. Shelf locker there, some shelving on top, shelving all around the sides. Nice grab rail there, which is not something you often see in a forward cabin. And this great hatch here that they pioneered with Lumar, which curves, and it's amazing, you know, that tiny bit of curve just lets in so much more light. It's also got the hole ports here with these great kind of airline style blinds. Very simple, very classy. I suppose the thing we haven't seen here before is this bit. This is kind of two-part mattress that raises, and below it, firstly, it's access to the bow thruster, but it's also a headrest. But it does mean, obviously, that you both have to sit up, because you can't do it one and not the other. If you want to get out, obviously, then there's this handy piece of string here which pulls up the support and lets it down. You will, of course, need two-piece sheets, because if there's a one-piece, then you're not going to be able to get in it. So here's the guest ensuite. It doesn't, just this one small hatch, which is good for ventilation, but with the lights off, it does get a bit gloomy in here. So it needs those lights. There they are. Good stowage around the outside and also under the sink. There's the shower tray, so you kind of stand in the shower tray. Very funky looking sink. And you've also got the shower head. It pulls up there so you can stand up and have your shower. And here it is, this boat's crown and glory, the aft cabin. This is where the owners will stay. So 6 foot headroom, which is because the cockpit has been pushed up quite a lot. So the deck of the cockpit is pretty much the same level as the side decks. So you end up with this palatial space that you can actually stand up in. Some good stowage here. The stowage in these right the way along, although if you are sitting here, then the chances of knocking into that and accidentally opening it are not small. Huge berth here, lovely light at the end. You've got these hole ports as well, but there's also one in the transom. So if you were at anchor or something, you want to ventilate the boat, you just open that, have one open there, and you get this wonderful through draft. Under here, the fuel tank. Under there, the water tank. These great little stowage spaces under these little bureau type things. This would generally be narrow. It would be about half the size it is, but because this boat is fitted with a 360 drive, the joystick go anywhere drive, there is that funky gearbox on the back of things, so it would be a bit smaller, which will give you a bit more space here. Some stowage there, and under here, very good access to the batteries. So here's the owner's ensuite, also the day head, I suppose. Huge headroom, very good ventilation, wonderful light from here, and you have got the blind that comes across. You want to retain your privacy. Head tank behind there. This is, I don't know where you change baby, but that flips up. Full use of the head. You've got this separate shower here, which is rather lovely, and these two-part acrylic doors. There's one here, one there, and they both unfold and fasten onto these magnetic catches here. It's very big, stowage is lovely, it's very bright. It's, you know, I'd be happy with this. One. So, that's the Jeanneau Sun Odyssey 41 DS. We went out sailing, not today, we went out yesterday and it was much nicer. Well, I suppose we had about 10 to 12 knots true wind, going upwind at about 30 to 35 degrees to the apparent wind, 14 to 18 knots for apparent wind, and we made about 5.7 to 6.6 knots, which isn't, you know, racing, but it's no slug either. Tacking through about 120, again it was quite light conditions. I suppose you could have cranked up the backstay and pinched that up a bit. On a fetch with 13 to 16 knots for apparent wind, it was 6.6 to 7.2, which is very respectable. Beam reach, 8 to 12 knots for apparent wind, 5.7 to 6.5, and then further down, about 120, broad reaching, 8 to 9 knots for apparent wind and 5.2 to 5.7 knots. So, no racing boat. As I say, the hull is the same as the Jeanneau Sun Odyssey 409. So same hull, same keel, same rudder, same rig, and there's about 500 kilograms difference in the weight of the boat. So she'll go pretty well, I'd say. Under motor, you've got the 40 HP as standard. This one, because it's got the 360 docking, it does have a 3-blade flexifold. Standard is a 3-blade fixed, so there might be a little more drag. At cruising revs, 2,700, she made 7 knots, flat out 3,200, 7.8 knots. So certainly lively. So who's she for? I think I can see a couple maybe downsizing their home. The kids have left, work has slowed down a bit, the pensions are coming in. And they want to go sailing. They want to go away sailing. You've got that fabulous aft cabin there. You've got this wonderfully bright saloon. And you've got the guest cabin there with its own heads, 2 heads. Got its own heads for the guests, so, you know, so if it's the kids or maybe some neighbours or friends. That's who I think this boat is for. It's wonderfully easy to sail. You can sail it single-handed pretty much. There is a self-tacker option if the idea of winding a winch is a bit too much for you. But say you can have electric everything, which would help with the resale value. It's going to be easy to sail, so you don't need to be physically massively able. Yeah, I think it's going to be people downsizing their home, releasing some capital, and up for a bit of sailing.